If you were no longer affected by the judgment of others and you stopped judging yourself, would you make different choices? Why make choices in your life based on judgments instead of on your awareness of what would create the life and living you desire? Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here is the host of Inspired Choices Radio Show, Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on A2Zen.fm.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you here today. It is June the 1st, 2016. If you are listening live, I hope you're having a brilliant day. If you are listening in the replay, thank you for clicking. I appreciate it, and I sure hope that I can fulfill your needs, help you in any way, shape, or form with this title tonight, When All Else Fails, Now What? A lot of that going on in my world, a lot of that going on with a lot of other people, and it just pops in. It's like when something pops for me, I'm like, yep, going to talk about that. Not sure what's exactly going to come out of my mouth, but do know that it's going on for a lot of people. And, hey, what else is possible and what choices can we make to change it? And that's really what Inspired Choices Radio is all about, is really looking at things and saying, hey, what else is possible? And knowing that we can always make another choice is where we try to operate from on the radio. So if you're just joining me for the very first time, or you are a repeat enjoyer, please know I would love to have you join us in the chat room. You go to A2Zen.fm and you click on the menu bar, the red menu bar, click on chat room and come on in and play. We do have a lot of fun, and I love to hear your questions. And if you're really brave, but you probably aren't, but if you are really, really brave and you'd like to call in and ask me a question about anything that's stopping you in this area of your life, your business, your relationships, your money, your body, anything, I would love to hear from you. So the phone number is in the U.S., 815-880-8255. In the Canada, that would be the place I live, 613-800-8736. Or you can always Skype us, A2Zen.fm. So last week, oh my gosh, I really enjoyed last week's show. And if you didn't have a chance to listen to it, wow, it was a humdinger. The show was a touch of sexual assault, and I had a wonderful guest, a young woman. Her name was Kaylee Dixon, 14-year-old girl. Well, she's 14-year-old in her body. I'm telling you, she has so much that she is contributing to and being in the world, and I just absolutely loved the conversation with her, and loved to hear what she was creating. She had created this amazing poem, and the conversation about sexual assault and how we can change it was potent, very, very potent. So tonight we are going to be talking about when all else fails, now what? Before we get into that, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a possibilities coach. So what is that? I work with people from all walks of life, all ages, all sexes, personal or in business, small businesses, large businesses, anywhere in between, to see what we can create that is possible in the world, that they know is possible, that they are hoping is possible, but somehow it has not yet come to be. So that's what I do. I have this great big huge toolbox. Actually, it's more like a tool shed, and it's filled with all sorts of amazing tools that I've acquired over my whole life, and specifically in my formal training as a certified Access Conscious Facilitator and a friggin' warehouse, thank you, and a professionally trained coach, businesswoman, human resources professional. I've done a lot of things, and I bring them all to the table to see what we can do to create for you and in the world. I'm also an Access Conscious Bars and Body Process Facilitator, a Right Body for You Taster Facilitator. I am a radio show host, obviously, because you're listening to me, and I'm a radio show producer and the owner of this radio station. So how does it get any better than that? And my latest title that I love, love, love is a TV personality. I can't believe I get to say that now, and I love what I'm creating in the TV. So if you would like to know more about me, please go to inspiredchoices.ca is my website, or of course you can check me out on a2zen.fm. I have a lot of information there. So some of the creations that I have that you can choose is personal one-on-one coaching, business coaching. I also have a really exciting, super packed study for business people that is coming up. It's called Beyond the BS, which does stand for bullshit, Beyond the BS Business Studies. It's going to be a week-to-week class where we are going to be looking at every single solitary aspect of business from A to Z, and we are going to be doing full evaluations of where you're at, what's working, what's not working, what's missing. It's going to be a 6-month program, and we're even going to have some special speakers coming in to talking about business. I'm so stoked about that class. For me too, because I know I'm going to learn some things myself as we go through this. So that's starting on June the 7th, 2016. And if you're hearing this a little after, check in with me. There might be a second program going on, or you might be able to catch up. I also have a program called Divorce with Dignity. If you are divorced, if you would like to be divorced, if you're considering divorcing, or if you, I don't know, you're anywhere in between, or you know someone that is and you would like to do it the easier way, have more peace, more kindness, more joy for everyone involved in the process, this program is designed for you. I was one of those crazy ladies in divorce, and then I went, you know what, I probably could have done that a lot better. And I started to put together tools to assist others so they don't have to go to crazy land with divorce or with co-parenting. And I also have a program coming up called Changing the Conversation with Suicide. If you've listened to me on other programs or even throughout my program, you may know that I have been touched by suicide personally on a number of occasions. And I actually have some pretty cool perspectives on it that is totally opened up my world. And this is a class that's coming up. It's 3 calls, and I'm doing it with a colleague, Janine Youngworth. She's also a radio show host here on A2Zen, and we're starting that on June the 9th. If you know of anyone that would like to have more ease, more peace, more space around suicide, whether it's for them or for someone else or someone that has chosen already to leave their bodies, that's what these sessions are going to be all about. I also have a phenomenal Access Consciousness Foundation class coming up in Collingwood, Ontario, and we're looking forward to having that class with all the new information that's come out since the rewrite of the Access program. And if you're someone that would like to have the Access Foundation class and you aren't in my area, contact me. I'd love to travel. I would love to see the world and bring these classes all around the world. So you can connect with me, of course, Christine at inspiredchoices.ca. So tonight, let's get to it. When all else fails, now what? So the walls are caving in and you have no ideas left. And you think to yourself, how will I ever make it through this insanity? Do those questions sound familiar to you, or are they just mine? Does nobody else have those questions run through their head? I have actually had them run through my head a lot. Have you ever failed or felt like you were failing at everything and trying so desperately to succeed? Well, my question to you is, what if creating from failure could actually be easier than you think, easier than we've been told? And what if you are the key, not to the failure, but to the more that you yearn for? So we're going to get a little raw up in here. I'm going to get a little vulnerable, and I'm going to share a lot of my own quote-unquote shit that I have chosen and how I have chosen to move beyond it. And if you have any questions, and you're a little shy, join us in the chat room. You can totally use a fake name. And I won't even use your name when I'm reading the questions. And I would love to have you join us because you know what? Together when we're asking questions, we really do change a lot. And that's what this is all about, is about making another choice. So, you know, in my life, I've made a ton of choices. And I spent, gosh, I would say more than 3/4 of my life judging myself for those choices and feeling like I was never going to get beyond it. You know, I went down a deep, dark path so many times, and each time that I did, it got darker and darker, and it got deeper. And I can remember one of the very last times that I went down that road, and I thought to myself, I don't know if I'm going to get up out of this one this time. It is so deep, and it was so dark, and I felt so lost. I didn't know what else to choose. I felt like all of my walls were caving in. I felt like, you know, the business wasn't going in the direction I wanted it to. There wasn't enough money coming in. I felt like there was a lot of anger and sadness around me in my life. I felt like I didn't know where to turn. You know, everything that I thought, okay, I'll choose this, I'll do this, this should work. Oh my God, you know, what about this? What about this? And merely choosing a lot of the times from that space of desperation. Like, you know, it's like you're starving, you're hungry, and you're grabbing every piece of food that you can get your hands on. And, you know, sometimes when we're doing that, we actually are stuffing ourselves full and we end up feeling sick. Well, that was kind of what was going on with me, is I was just grabbing and grabbing and grabbing and not really doing it from a conscious place. Absolutely not doing it from a conscious place, not doing it from what would actually create greater for me. I was doing it out of desperation. And how many of us are choosing to create anything and everything out of desperation? Oh, it may seem like, oh, I'm just choosing because, you know, it seems okay. I'm just going to do this. But in actual fact, underneath it all, it has the energy of desperation. You know, we're not really looking at, okay, so truth, if I choose this, what is this going to create? We really do choose and think, oh my gosh, okay, I got to get this because I don't want to be without this, right? So it's like, have you ever chosen something, but when you're choosing it, you're actually looking over your shoulder saying, oh my God, I got to get out of that. So we're running away from something. We're choosing from the running away as opposed to choosing from going forward, and really feeling like there's nothing left for us to choose. And what we're doing all that while is we are looking outside of ourselves. We are looking outside of ourselves for what we can choose. And it's like we're in that energy of desperation. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And we're looking and we're looking and we're looking. And we're trying to find that key. You know, what's the right choice here? And as we keep doing that, we keep sliding down that hill of desperation. Oh my God, that didn't work. And it's like, you know, when if someone is ever drowning, right? They try to swim faster, right? And what does that end up having them do? Oftentimes it's having them losing control, and they actually slip under the water. You know, that was something that I learned at a very, very young age. I wasn't a strong swimmer, but I knew that if I would calm down and if I would just roll over to onto my back, and I would just glide on the water for a little while, I would be able to shift something, and I would be able to move eventually once I became stable. So there's a lot to this tonight. I'm really picking up on a lot of people's spaces and places, and I'm so grateful for all of you that are here tonight listening live, and all of you that are in the chat room. Amazing women that I just absolutely adore. And we're going to go for our first break of the night. And when we come back, I'm going to take some of your questions, and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into what really is the true key for moving beyond when something doesn't work. So you are listening to Christine McIver on Inspired Choices, and it's on a2zen.fm. And we'll be back right after this short commercial break. Stay tuned, everyone.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
What if you really do change molecules by your interaction with them? What if the change you've been looking for is right before your eyes? What if the uncomfortableness that comes with difference could be fun? What if the closed-minded people of the world no longer determined our world? What if gratitude trumps judgment every time? What if your kindness healed the world? What if the earth is asking for your help? And what if you had the resources to give it? This is your invitation to step into something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Picasso, Da Vinci, Shakespeare, Aristotle all knew to be true. Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. What if there are no dumb questions? Or any question too large? What if you being you are the gift and the change this world requires? Is now the time? For more questions to create a change in your world, sign up for a free video series at beingyouclass.com. My gift to you, beingyouclass.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Okay, thank you everyone for staying tuned. And if you're just joining, we are talking about when all else fails, now what? I am your host, Christine McIver, and we are on Inspired Choices Radio. Tonight we are talking about what if creating from failure could actually be easier than we think. So what we are trying so hard to get it right. What actually begins to happen is the walls start to cave in on us. And it's nearly like, it feels to me oftentimes when I'm trying to get it right, like I'm losing oxygen. And when that is actually occurring, we've got expectation in there. We've got conclusion. We've got judgment. And then we've got no awareness. Because you cannot operate from those places of being and also have awareness. So you can't be in that energy of asking questions. So we have a really great question in the chat room. Eleanor says, what is worse, trying and grabbing at things or not trying at all with the energy of what's the point? Eleanor, I love the question, and I'm going to say to you what you may not like to hear, but what's true for you? What do you know? For some people, it's going to be one. Some people, it's going to be the other. And for some people, it could be something entirely different, right? So when you are grabbing, you're in the desperation. When you are in the, who the hell cares? What the hell's the point? You've given up. Now, in my coaching training, there was a scale of emotions, okay, a scale of feelings and emotions. And desperation was actually lower than frustration, okay? And those are what I'm picking up, Eleanor, on what you've said in there. It's the frustration. And you got the latter as well. Cool. So that's what's true for you. So you would rather be in the who the hell cares than in the grabbing and nothing's working space. That's what I'm getting. So I'll just wait for Eleanor's message there. But neither one is wrong. If we can get some space, if we can get a little bit of space around these and really start to ask some generative questions, then we can start to maybe shift it. So one of the great ways to begin to shift things, like when all else fails, now what? One of the great things to do, put on some music and dance. Literally change the energy in your body, okay? Some people might say, hey, go call a girlfriend and bitch, or, guys might say, go have a beer with the boys. It doesn't matter what it is, but if you could just move, shifting the energy, it can be as little as, there was one day that my body was in so much pain, but I needed to shift the energy. It was emotional energy, and all I could do was sit at my desk and swing my legs back and forth and swing my arms, up and down. That started to move it for me, okay? Children that are in school that have ADD, ADHD, and they're always like, they won't sit still, they won't sit still. These kids are actually aware. Their bodies know that their bodies need to move energy. These children are picking up on what we call awareness, and if you've never heard of this before, it's a little weird, but we know when crap's going on with people around us. And so these children are so aware that, they are picking up on the other child's anxiety or upset, or the teacher being frustrated, or, they brought all their parents' crap with them to school and they're upset. Their bodies are moving so that they can move the energy. So take it after a child. Move your body. Do whatever you can just to move your body and get a little bit of space with it, okay? One of the beautiful things that I love to do, first of all, for me, and this may not work for you, but I got to call a girlfriend and I got to kind of puke all the shit up on the table. If I hold it in me and I don't get it out verbally, it like festers. Okay, but I have deals with my girlfriends. They let me bitch for a short period of time, and then that's it. Then they start to hold me accountable. Then the next thing I do is I go for a walk. I will go for a hardcore walk now that the weather is beautiful here. Even when it's really, really wintry, I love to do that, and I could just move that energy and really, really start to change it. So one of the greatest things is to recognize that you have the capacity to change what's going on, but you've got to get some space first, okay? That's so important. Eleanor says, that was today. So I cleaned and I did 2 loads of laundry and I read my book on judgment. Fantastic. Doing something different, actually walking away from the chaos and giving yourself a little bit of space can change it so amazingly that it really can substantially change it when you come back to it, okay? When you're sitting in your pile of shit, you're just going to keep smelling shit, okay? When you actually stay in your sadness, when you stay in your anger, when you stay in your frustration, you're going to keep getting more of it. So move that body, put on some music, dance, do whatever is, really speaks to you. It might be go to have a glass of water. It might be something very, very simple. Sometimes cleaning, actually, for me too, Eleanor, changes something. So it can be phenomenal to contribute to you. So Rhonda says, for her, at the absolute darkness, I had to find one thing to focus on that made me feel even slightly better for as long as I could focus on it, then another, etc. I slept a lot because it was the path of least resistance and allowed things to even out with my mind out of the way. I love that you said that, Rhonda. A lot of times people will say when somebody is sleeping a lot, they're depressed. And we actually, you're sleeping a lot, are you depressed? Which is actually not a question. It's a conclusion with a question mark at the end of it. And we can actually put that onto somebody. So what does your body know that it requires when you're in that space? Sometimes the body actually can process for you, right? When you are so friggin' in your mind that you can't move this shit, all right? You might be so in that space that you can't get any clarity around it. Sometimes your body can be an amazing partner in shifting it, all right? When you actually are willing to look at your failures, and by the way, failure is a judgment. So if you are calling something a failure, you had an expectation in there, okay? And so if you can destroy and if you can destroy and uncreate and release any expectations you had around something you were trying to create, whether it was a relationship or more money, if you can just get rid of the expectations that you had, and yeah, you can change what you had before. You can just say, you know what, I'm giving up those expectations. I'm going to wipe them away, just like turning on a tap and letting it don't go down the drain. I'm letting that go. And then you can start to get a little bit more space. And okay, so that was a choice. If you didn't call it a failure, what else could it be? Right? A lot of people say, I failed at my marriage. My marriage failed. Oh my God, that's so friggin' heavy. That's ridiculous. And it makes me want to puke when I actually say those words now. Yeah, Carol says, I've had more failures than successes, all judgments, I guess. Yeah, like how much do we actually, you know, this society actually says, well, did you succeed at that? You know, I'm still breathing, so I guess that'd be a yes. You know, but we keep putting these labels. This is a failure. This is a success. I'm going to tell you a story about me and some of my failures. So you guys ready for that? And how I started to change that. So I have been married more than once. I've been married twice. And a lot of people would be, oh, you failed at marriage twice. No, I chose it twice. And then I unchose it twice. Okay? It's just a choice. I learned so friggin' much from those choices, both going in and out of those choices. I don't see them as failures. I truly don't. Did I for a long time? Hell yes. I saw them for a long time as failures. They're not anymore. To me, they were choices that I made that have taught me more about me than anything else in the whole wide world. And yeah, as Eleanor says, it was as good as it was as long as it needed to be. And it provided for me a lot of what I was looking for, which was learning a lot more about what I wanted and what I didn't want. Because truthfully, I had that total princess pie, you know, pie in the sky, you know, dream, love, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I can't even talk when I think about it now. It makes me want to, like, hurl. I had that whole, you know, prince and riding in on his horse thing going on in my head. And I was making my choices based on that. I was actually, so yeah, fairy tale fantasy. Thank you, Rhonda, for having my back on that one. I was truthfully choosing marriage based on a fairy tale fantasy, not based on did I actually like the guy, and was he actually going to be the person that I wanted to co-create my life with. I was doing it based on so many crazy other insanities. Oh yeah, they, you know, each of them checked a couple of boxes, but wow, my box, I got a lot more boxes and you know, I'm going to choose a relationship, whether it's a friendship, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a relationship with a family member. I'm going to choose it as long as I choose it, and then I'm going to choose something else. And I may choose back to that person again at some time, but I don't see them as failures. And now that I don't see those marriages as failures, guess what started to occur for me? I've got space around it. And I'm no longer judging me that I suck at relationships. So when I have taken that big cloak off of myself, and I'm no longer beating myself up on a continuous basis around it, I'm really able to get vulnerable with myself and ask myself, Christine, what is it that you would really like to have in a relationship? What is it that you desire? Truthfully, do you want to be married? Truthfully, do you want to have more children? That's a hell no. Truthfully, do you want to have someone that you are seeing every day? Truthfully, how do you want to play with that person? What does creation with that person look like? And now I am so different with myself with it, with relationships with men. I can now look at something and go, you know what, that doesn't work for me, or that doesn't really seem like fun to me. And when I choose it, now I totally am choosing what works and what's fun for me. But I wasn't able to do it when I was judging myself. So as soon as I took the word failure out of relationship, everything started to shift. Okay. going to talk about, when we come back from our next break, I'm going to talk about how you are being the key with failure changes it all. And I would love to take more of your comments and questions in the chat room. And, hey, who's brave enough to call in and ask me a question on the line? Oh, probably not. Nobody else is brave. Not as brave as me anyway. Anyway, so you are listening to Christine on Inspired Choices Radio on A to Zen.fm, and we will be back right after this short commercial break, and I'll try to talk then.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
Do you know a child who is frustrated and disruptive in class? Who struggles to connect? Who's bright but still not making the grade? Have you ever wished that there were a kinder, gentler way to support children with difficulties in school or at home? Many children find access bars is benefiting them greatly. A study is being conducted to document findings in an effort to assist kids everywhere with these life-changing benefits. Will you donate and help to assist kids thrive? Visit www.accessyyourbrilliance.com to support our study. What else is possible for kids now more than ever?
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight and for sticking around if you've been here from the beginning of the show. If you haven't, I want to tell you a quick little bit about what I'm creating in the world. I have a number of programs and calls that are going on. Next week, I am starting a dynamic 6-month program, weekly program called Beyond the BS Business Studies, and it is going to be a jam-packed, interactive look at every area of business from A to Z class, and I am super stoked about it. That's been in the creation for some time, and I've got so many things lined up. I'm not sure that 6 months is going to do it. The second thing that we've got coming up is called Changing the Conversation with Suicide, and this is a 3-call series with my friend and co-host here on A2Zen.fm, Janine Youngworth, and we are going to be talking about what we're aware of regarding suicide and how we can change it for both the people that are considering suicide, for people that have been touched by suicide with someone that they love and care about, or people that have actually passed, because Janine is actually a medium. So I'm sure that we're going to have some interesting conversations come up. So both of those classes are starting next week, June the 7th and June the 9th, and you can get all that information about that on my website, inspiredchoices.ca. So, and finally, I have a foundation class that's going on in Ontario. That's the Access Conscious Foundation class. It's coming up next weekend, the 10th of June in Collingwood, which is a beautiful area. So if you'd like to enjoy the summer and take this class, I'd love for you to join us. So before we went to break, or just as we were going to break, Eleanor had actually posted, I always wanted to be divorced so people would stop asking what's wrong with me since I never married. Oh, my God. So funny, Eleanor. That just cracks me up. I've actually written a chapter in a book on relationship, and it's going to be published very, very soon. And that part is so funny to me based on what I've written. And how many people keep getting asked all the time, why aren't you married, or why don't you have any kids? And it's like, oh, please shut up, just go away. But how many of us actually feel that pressure, and we actually choose it so that because we think it's us, but it actually, we're picking up that it's somebody else's, right? I said to Eleanor, maybe the next time someone asks, she should tell them that she got married in Vegas last month and then got divorced last week. Maybe that would change it for you, Eleanor. Anyway, so let's get back to something I want to share with you. I want to share with you a little bit about business. This is just an area of my life that I love to play with and create with. But something that I have, quote unquote, failed at a lot. So a number of you may know that I basically, so I was working for a very big organization as a human resources director for all of Ontario, and I had a nervous breakdown, and I basically blew that job, or that's what I thought at the time. And then I was in a very depressed state for many, many months, and slowly started to come out of that, thankfully, and I started my own business feeling like I just couldn't go back into a situation like that. But I had judged myself that I had failed. So starting back in my own business, there was a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety around it, and oh my God, the pressure to succeed and not fail again, that actually had me by the throat for many, I would say 3 or 4 years for sure. And creating my business at the time was not fun. And then just a few short years ago, I started to make some different choices. And when those choices didn't, bring the fruit of my labor to the surface as what I wanted, that old judgment of, I'm failing or I suck at this took over. And I basically blew up my entire business. I was down to, I think, 1 or 2 small clients. I wasn't even bringing in, $1,000 a month. And I ended up living in a 10 by 10 room. I had, just a few years earlier had built my own home, a great big beautiful home. And here I was now, I had to give everything up. And I was living in a 10 by 10 room in somebody else's, in the middle of somebody else's family. And it was brutal. And truthfully, I can remember this one night looking up at that ceiling, and I'll never forget what that ceiling looked like. And I just thought, this is the last thing I'm going to see because I don't want to be here anymore. And I was just judging myself. I was in so much desperation. And I was locking myself down into this prison of hell, of judgment, and just completely looking at, constantly in this judging, constantly in this, it's measuring how good I was or how good I wasn't, and just staying in that energy changed absolutely nothing. And I went to sleep that night, and I remember thinking, in the morning, if I wake up and I feel like this, I'm leaving. I am done. I won't do this anymore. My God, here I was, just 50 years old, and holy shit, I've done this for 50 years, and this is where I end up. Why bother? How many of you out there have ever felt like, why bother? Why should I keep doing this? And I woke up in the morning, and something shifted. Something shifted. I can't tell you exactly what shifted. Something shifted. And I woke up in the morning, and I said, screw this. I am not doing this. I am changing this, no matter what. And no job opportunities, no clients, nothing came to me in the middle of the night. What changed was the energy in me, and it was my determination that I am not going to fail. And I started to change it. And I went, you know what, screw it. I don't give a shit what people think. I don't care if people think I'm a failure. I don't care if people judge me. I really don't. I'm not going to hang my head in this shame energy anymore. I'm not going to try to hide my flaws. I'm not going to try to hide anything that I've ever messed up, I'm going to step up and I'm going to shout it from the mountaintops. I screwed up. I messed up. I made choices. Okay, cool. Those choices, this is what happened. This is what came out of those choices. But today, that's not who I am. You know, what I chose yesterday does not measure who I am, who I can be, and who I desire to be, and who I'm going to choose to be. Today, I choose to be me. I was the key. I was the key, not anybody else, nobody else's thoughts, nobody else's opinions, nobody else's, money. It was me. It was the choice that I made within me. I was the key to changing my life. And it came down to, at that very last moment, it came down to me saying no more judging me. You know what? I still have some moments where I'm upset with myself, or I still have moments of frustration. But here's what I know. Even if I don't have the answer, I know somewhere inside of me, if there's a frustration or if there's a desire for more, I know somewhere inside of me I have the knowing to change it. And I know that even if that knowing is like reaching out to someone who has my back and say, hey, I'm struggling. Can you help me with this? Can you, give me a contribution? But I don't do it from the energy of absolute desperation. Okay? My body likes to cry, and sometimes that moves it. Sometimes sleeping, sometimes walking, sometimes crying will move it for me. But I know today that I'm the key in my life. I know that I am the biggest being in my life, and I know somewhere inside of me that I have all my answers. And it's through choosing. It's through choosing that I'm learning what's true for me. It's through choosing that I'm learning what doesn't work for me. And you know what? Sometimes I still screw up. Sometimes I mess up really fucking bad. Yeah, use the F word. Sometimes I have to really apologize for my screw ups, both to me, to my body, to my friends, to people I love and care about, to my business. Sometimes I really, really have to, take a big gulp and say, I messed the frig up. But I know I'm the key. And I know that no matter what, I can change it. But it had to start with me stop judging my choices. I had to look at this. I had to take the intensity of the judgment, of the energy off of it. And I had to start seriously saying, okay, this is not working. What other choice can I make? If we gave as much energy to these intense choices as we do to choosing what to drink with our dinner, do you know how much easier they would be able to change? It's the intensity of your judgment, of your choices, of your successes and failures that kick you in the ass. Because you're no longer standing in the space of choice. Now you're standing in the space of judgment and taking the whip to your own back. Energetically, yes. But still, all the while, you are marking yourself. So all the places and spaces where you have whipped yourself, you have marked yourself, and you have stopped yourself from creating what it is you desire to create because of the judgments you keep sitting in, would you be willing to give that now up? Would you please destroy and uncreate all of that? And everything that doesn't allow that, let's destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. What I just said was the crazy, wild, totally cuckoo, weirdo statement called the clearing statement. And what it does is it actually changes energy. It's weird, it's wacky, and it works. Gary Douglas, founder of Access Consciousness, says the exact same thing, and I agree with him. And if that doesn't work for you, just say, I'm giving it up to Jesus. Whatever works for you, it doesn't matter. It's your willingness to choose beyond it. So whether you're sitting in your car screaming or you are shaking your head and saying, what's the point in all of this? Wherever you are right now, I want you to know that you chose to come and listen to this show because you knew on some level that something here was true for you as well. I don't have your answers. I have awarenesses. I have awarenesses of me, and I have awarenesses oftentimes of what's going on for other people. What I do know is when you are willing to ask some questions and come out of the judgment for even just a couple of minutes, you can start to unlock it. Okay, we are going to go to our final break of the night, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up with some great questions that you can add in your life so you can start to have some more fun and play. Imagine. You are listening to Inspired Choices with your host, Christine McIver, and we will be right back right after this break.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
What if there's nothing wrong with you? What if you're far greater than you've ever given yourself credit for? What if it's time to know the gift and the contribution you are to the world and to like yourself a lot more? Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago, I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. Asking questions opens doors to infinite possibilities. And it's not about finding the answer. It's about being the question. Always. What I'm inviting you to step into is something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Newton, Da Vinci, Gandhi, Picasso, and Aristotle all knew to be true. What if no question is too big or too small? What if anything is possible for you? What if together we could create a kinder, gentler, happier world? Is now the time? Go to beingyouclass.com and sign up for a free video series, My Gift to You. beingyouclass.com. What if you, truly being you, are the gift and change this world requires? beingyouclass.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Okay, here we are. When all else fails, now what? Sometimes in our lives we just want to give up because we feel like we have really unearthed all of the things that we can and we don't have any idea what else to do. Well, what if it has nothing to do with your ideas in your brain? You know, I remember, oh my gosh, I got to tell you this story. I remember when I was first in my own business, I was like, oh my God, I got to think of something to talk to somebody about. And I was constantly going into my brain looking for what to talk to somebody about because I didn't want to sound like all I ever did was say the same thing over and over again. Well, years later, I came to realize that, of course, I was saying the same thing over and over again because that was the only library I was going to was the one in my brain. I wasn't going to the library of awareness. I wasn't asking questions, and I certainly wasn't asking for a contribution from the universe regarding something. And I wasn't asking a lot of the times questions of other people because when I was trying to come up with the perfect product or the perfect program, and when I was doing that, I was trying to read minds. I was trying to be a freaking psychic, right? To read their minds of what people would choose instead of asking questions about what would create greater, What would be fun? What would be a contribution? Now, fast forward a few years, and I got together with a very dear friend of mine, Carol Glover, and we knew we wanted to create something together. We didn't know what it was, but we knew definitely wanted to. And so we got together, and we were sitting there like, quote unquote, business people are supposed to do. And I said, you know what, this isn't working. Let's go for a walk. And so we went for a walk, and when we did that, we started to get a little bit of space, and we started to have a little bit of ease around it, and we started to play. And out of that whole thing came a playground of possibilities. No, maybe that's the wrong name, Carol. You're going to have to help me out on that one. But we totally came up with this creation around playing, and we actually wrote our first book. It was about possibilities in playing, and it really, that creation of ours didn't, make us famous. We haven't been called on TV yet for that particular creation, and I think we sold one or two of those books. But what that did was it sparked your expansion. Thank you, Carol. That was it. But what that creation did was it started to spark something in us, because we started to create in a different way. So here's one of the questions that I want you to start putting into your life. It's so friggin' simple, it's not even funny, okay? But I'm telling you, it can begin to change everything. Are you ready? What would be fun for me today? What would be fun for me today? Something that simple can actually start to have the fun show up. But if you're looking for answers, if you're looking for massive creation, you may miss the fun, and the fun may be what's required to expand even more, okay? So what would be fun for me today? Here's the second question. Pardon me. If I wasn't judging any of my creations, what would I like to create? If I wasn't judging any of my past creations, what would be fun to create? What would be a great creation that would bring me more joy than I've ever had before? These questions, when you are in that space of, hey, that childlike energy, you can start to change it. Whether you are in a, when all else fails, crappy space around relationships, around money, around business, around your body, if you start to come out of the judgment and even ask, who does all this crap belong to? Because, you might be like the children, and you're picking up on what they are also doing, is picking up on everybody else's stuff. If you could come out of the judgment and you could literally say, who does this belong to? It will start to lighten your load, and then start to ask, if I wasn't judging myself right now, how much fun could I have? These are simple tools, everyone, that even people who have been in Access for many, many years forget to ask. So remember this one big thing, when something is heavy, it's a lie. You are the ticket to creating your life greater and creating the joy you desire. You've got to choose it. And even if all you do is wake up in the morning and go, I am so depressed, I'm so angry, I'm so dissatisfied, but you say, I'm going to get up and I'm going to just keep putting one foot in front of the other until the day ends, you are in the energy of changing it. Thank you, my friends, for joining me tonight. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Please stay tuned. The next show up is our brand new host, Priya Ali, the Intuitive Goddess. We are going to have a rocking good time tonight, everyone. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on A2Zen.fm. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.